This is a total abuse of the legal system. It's an attack against me based on my political view, nothing else.
Tommy,
excuse me, sir.
So, Tommy, can you tell us what's just happened inside of the court?
We've heard the police's cross-examination, where it turned out that they took 34 seconds to determine I was going to be detained under Terrorism Act. 34 seconds, where they're meant to take time to question you about things. They didn't question me, they just saw my face and automatically made the decision they were going to detain me. That's what's come out under the officer's evidence. What also come out is his reasoning for detaining me was I bought my ticket at the dock and I was driving a friend's car. And then questioned one of the reasons, and it was suspicious I was driving to the south of Spain. Now, they took 40 minutes to question partner agencies. Nothing come back suspicious against me. Nothing that backed up I should be detained. When questioned, did he check my previous travel? I leave this country every other week. I don't live in the UK. I live in the south of Spain. So that would have determined that nothing I was doing was suspicious. But the police officer had to have a break. He looked like he was about to faint because it come out that he absolutely did not follow his protocol, did not follow the law. This is a total abuse of the legal system. It's an attack against me based on my political view, nothing else. There was no suspicion of terrorism, no suspicion of a crime, simply the fact that I was Tommy Robinson. And I'm now in court for being Tommy Robinson, not for being a terrorist.
Where are we in regards to the trial? So you've had the
I think there's another police officer now to be cross-examined, I believe. I believe there's another officer, and then I think we're there. So I'm hoping that this is done this afternoon.
So potentially it's done this afternoon. So you're going for lunch now. What time will you be back?
Starts back at 2. I've got to be back at 10 to 2. But anyone listening to that, anyone who's sat, if anyone's been, I know Ezra's travelled over from Canada doing some brilliant live tweeting, and I'm very grateful for him doing that. It's an absolute farce. The entire case is a farce. How the hell I'm here? If it wasn't for Elon Musk, I'd have another massive bill. The only terrorism that's being committed is financial terrorism, and it's waged against me. Because every one of these cases costs tens or 20 or 30 or 50 or even £100,000, yeah? And it shouldn't be happening, it shouldn't be allowed to happen. This is the second time now in 7 months on my last case where it was proven that the police acted unlawfully, detained me unlawfully, arrested me unlawfully, without powers to do so, and give me unlawful bail conditions. That's what happened here last time I was in this court. I hope the same happens again today. But if it does happen today, what the fuck is going to be done about it? Because it's an absolute liberty that this continues to happen. For the last 15 years, I haven't had a peaceful moment where I haven't faced these prosecutions. It's not right, yeah?
Outside a British courthouse today, Tommy Robinson delivered a blistering statement accusing police of blatant abuse of the legal system after testifying that he was detained under anti-terrorism powers, despite what he called no reasonable grounds for suspicion. Speaking to reporters, Robinson described his brief cross-examination by officers as a joke, claiming that the process took less than a minute and failed to meet even the most basic standards of due process. They took about 34 seconds, Robinson said, and at that time they decided I could be detained under terrorism legislation. Those were the words given in evidence by the officer. 34 seconds. That's all it took. Robinson recounted that he had been driving a friend's car and had purchased his travel ticket from the first available station on his way to the south of Spain, where he currently resides. When questioned, he said he told officers he no longer lives in the UK, a fact that, he argued, should have immediately dispelled any suspicion of suspected. To his critics, however, Robinson's performance outside the courthouse was familiar. A practiced blend of defiance and victimhood that keeps him at the center of Britain's culture wars. They argue that his confrontational style and anti-Islam rhetoric invite controversy that he then repackages as persecution. Regardless of one's opinion of Tommy Robinson, his prosecution under terrorism legislation is testing the boundaries of British law and the government's commitment to civil liberties. If found guilty, he has potential imprisonment, a scenario Robinson warned would face being an international embarrassment for the UK.
Well, from today, some European nations begin rolling out the new high-tech entry-exit border control system, EEC, whatever they're calling it, that will scan non-EU travellers' faces and fingerprints, including us, the Brits. And this biometric data will be linked to passports and stored under and monitored by the EU and their laws. The scheme's cheerleaders say it's about faster travel and tighter security and convenience. Where have you heard that before? But it really is, well, I think it is, an expansion of digital ID to a continent-wide scheme through the back door. Well, I'm now joined by the co-founder of the Together Declaration, Alan Miller, who's been fighting this battle for a very long time. Alan, I found this story deeply troubling. I do not trust anybody with my biometric data, let alone the bureaucrats of the EU. What do you think about it?
Yeah, Alex, this is a real problem. I mean, so people know, the EU are going to have 440 million people who live in the EU across the 30 nations Schengen zone, all on digital ID. Currently, Italy, France, Germany, they all have national ID cards with biometrics. And as we know, that has not stopped illegal migration. In Germany, 264,000 just in 2025. We know that over 180,000 in France, hundreds of thousands in Italy too. Huge issues across the coast there. So the argument that was made here about it and the arguments there, one would ask the question, why is it that they are fingerprinting and wanting biometrics on all of the visitors to the area, when the real who are going to go and spend money and bring benefit to their economies and then leave, and they still can't control people that they don't want to be there. So what we've got is a situation is that globalist technocrats want to survey, control, look at, constantly assess, be able to nudge and use and coerce with this system. It's a huge issue because we know that hundreds of millions of breaches are occurring regularly. 125 million Americans just in 2025 so far. We saw what happened with Marks and Spencer's and with the Afghani situation, and of course Heathrow. On and on it goes across Finland, Northern Europe. We've had things with IVF, all sorts of breaches across the board, and with our one login system, very porous, very huge issues that they've tried to cover up. So we have a situation now where we're not in the EU, and I think that's very good, but so we don't have control over it. But what I would say, Alex, the reason why the Together Declaration has got this new part of our campaign to say we're not going to allow 8 million directors to be forced into digital ID, that we're going to actually campaign. We're campaigning, telling Companies House, telling the Department for Business and Trade, and everyone. We'd love all your viewers and listeners to get involved with this. And like we did with the Together Declaration, so we're not going to have it forced on them or our kids or anyone else. And we can inspire those in Europe who are having this imposed on them to actually challenge it as well, which in Europe as well, we should note, they've got the Digital Services Act, which is a Censors Act, a censor charter, very similar to the Online Safety Act, the problems with that. So I'd encourage everyone to get involved, togetherdeclaration.org, and say, you know, this is what we want to do to stop and push it back.
Alan Miller, sorry it was very short tonight, but thank you so much for joining me. He's the co-founder of the Together Declaration. Alan, thank you so much. I do think there is a significant irony that the EU, which has cracked down on technology, cracked down on AI, and said that they can't be all this facial recognition in your social media apps, now they're going to impose it on you without there being even a challenge. It is an absolute irony. The EU acts like this bureaucratic dictatorship. There are countries in the EU that don't want this. I know you speak to the Hungarians about it, they don't want it, but do they get a say? No, because as long as it goes through the Parliament and the Commission are happy with it, then everyone else has to go along with the ride. It's crazy.